Revealed woman's 20-year mission in the space program on Mars, Venus, and more by Jeff Mara Podcast. I'ma like his video, like my video, support your boy. Let's see what they talking about. Hey, I'm about to roll up some Blue Lotus and lavender real quick. We're gonna get lit to this video. You smell me?
My guest is Morgan Johnson, who bravely served 2 consecutive 20 and back tours with the Secret Space Force after being recruited from her position in the Army. There, she reached the rank of ship commander, which is rarely held by women.
Yeah, she was
Morgan, thanks for
commanding
joining
ships.
me and welcome.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're
yeah.
happy to have you. And if you don't mind, let's start in the beginning, or I guess somewhere near the beginning.
Let's get right into it.
In the Army, I guess it would probably start from there.
Right. Yes.
Is
And
that
I
a
was
piercing?
not excited
Y'all see that between her in between her? Is that a piercing, right? Oh my god, that don't look painful, bro.
about going into the Army at all. My mom had to force me in.
Dang,
Um,
that's
the recruiter
rare.
showed up at my house after I
Your mom forced you to join the army as a woman. I haven't heard that one before. Not saying that women can't be in the army, but it's just like most moms don't force their daughter to join the army. What the heck?
had been out with friends, and I signed I think a 6-year contract. I only ended up doing 3.5 here. But I became an informations operator analyst, so 25 Bravo. And that was somebody that was doing computer networking. And I did that for about a year prior to the Space Force.
How were you recruited?
I was the assistant to my first sergeant. And he had just told me one day that the commanders of the post and some other random high level officials wanted to come see me. And so when they got there, they pulled me into a room and just offered me this thing called the 20 and back. I didn't really ask any questions.
That's common. It's always 20 and back, where like you do it for 20 years, then they actually, after you do this like 20-year thing, they kind of like age regress you. I'll let her. She's probably gonna explain that. I'm not gonna. She'll talk about it probably.
So I didn't really care what the specifics were because it was just too exciting. I wanted to go.
Oh, she was hyped for
And
this.
I signed the papers that evening. They didn't really talk much about what we were doing, just kind of said, we're going to space. And I said, okay, that
Okay,
sounds good to me.
that's all she cared about.
They said, you can't tell anyone, and you're not going to remember the trip once you get back. That they had this technology where they would bring me back into my exact timeline to where I would be the same age as when I left,
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
when
Yeah,
I was done,
some
which I
time
didn't
travel.
understand, but I didn't really care. It was too exciting. It was too much fun.
Did you believe it when they offered it to you, like to come back in your same timeline?
That sounded strange. I didn't have any, there was nothing to refer it to, right? Like I didn't have any, I hadn't even seen that in a movie. There was just no reference of like what that even would mean or entail. I didn't care. I was too excited that the opportunity was there and that
She just want to go to space and see some aliens,
I
bro.
felt special because I was being picked for this. So like
Yeah,
that was the only emotion I was
I actually heard too from a different guy. He said they try to make you feel special by doing this. Whole time they don't really care about you like that.
worried about at that time.
It's fascinating that they told you up front, you're going to be gone for 20 years, and then we're going to bring you back.
it That's about as much as they gave me.
So you sign the paperwork, and
Wild.
then what happens?
So then it was literally the next day that they came to get me, and they just took me. So I was at Fort Lewis, Washington. Um, I hate to put like military bases on blast, but the direct neighbor to Fort Lewis is McChord Air Force Base. And so they took me from Fort Lewis to McChord Air Force Base
I don't
to
know
an
where any of
underground
that is.
terminal. And we got into a spaceship there that looked like a fighter jet, but it was made out of like a glass like substance.
Hmm.
And that
Interesting.
when the doors to the what was our roof opened up, which was the floor to the actual base,
Yeah. I guess she's
and
saying
we just lifted up above
she's underground, so the roof is somebody else's floor.
the ceiling and then into space. And there was camouflage, so no one could see that we were leaving the Earth's atmosphere.
That's
And
wild.
within a few minutes, I want to say, we hyper jumped out of Earth's orbit and into space,
That's
moving
wild,
towards
bro.
the moon. Um, that that memory has been a little bit difficult for me to grasp fully onto. I know it was between 1 and 3 days that we spent moving through space, and my understanding of that wasn't that we needed to take that long, but it was more that we were getting acclimated to being in space.
When you
Okay.
were in the ship, was there gravity?
I wondered how she remembered because there was one guy talk about this who had to go through hypnosis to remember what happened to him.
Like being on the planet?
Yes, completely. It would be just like being in an airplane, except the entire, like the space where everybody was sitting was in a circumference circle around the craft, and the actual monitors and the way that they controlled the flight was in the center.
Was there a bunch of people also joining up with you?
I don't remember exactly how many. There was not many people. My ex-boyfriend, I say that he was my ex-boyfriend now, but at the time he was my boyfriend. He actually was recruited to go as well.
Oh wow!
And
They
he
said
was
bring the
a
family
very
along.
super genius, really smart guy that made a lot of sense for him to be one of the people to come with. But they didn't tell either one of us that we were allowed to tell each other. So we were surprised with that information once we got to the ship. We
They're
found
like,
out we were both
oh,
going
my
together.
baby.
Did they?
They imagine if the boyfriend couldn't come. You the boyfriend just waited 20 years for your girl. Like, wait, where'd my girl go? Who took my girl? What the heck?
They know that you had this relationship with your boyfriend?
Yes, yes. We had been long term up until that point. And we were together years once we both got back after
Why they break up? I want to know why they broke up.
that.
Do you think that they picked you both so you could continue your relationship?
I think they had some sort of plan. I think there's always a bigger plan. Um, I'm not 100% why they brought both of us, except I know I just feel like it was two separate things. He was a very, very smart genius, like overachieving super soldier. And I had this background with other, we'll say, government projects. And so those two things came together.
Okay.
All right, so you're in space for a couple days. Then where do you go?
We went straight to the moon. We went to get our new uniforms and our duty assignment.
What were your uniforms like?
Most of them were black during the entirety of my enlistment. A couple of times they were different colors. Those will be in the book. I can't recall exactly because each duty station probably had a separate, especially when I was in like the Stargate, and like the more dangerous ones had different colors because needed to be a distinction. But the typical one was all black and it had a collar. I mean, very similar. It sounds silly to say, but like a typical Star Wars, just plain uniform that everybody wore.
I ain't
It
watched Star
wasn't
Wars.
like a skin tight one.
No, no, more of like a military uniform fitting.
Once you arrived at the moon, did they give you a new job or position?
Yes, so I was taken into the commander of the moon, which was a female. I was taken into her office. She gave me some warnings and information about like realizing that some stations and ships in space like didn't have many women and also didn't see many women for really long periods of time. So she kind of gave me some warnings about stuff like that.
Yeah, I could
She also
imagine.
signed me out an electric baton just in case I needed it for my own protection.
Oh, okay.
And
Going to
then
start whipping some
she told
behind.
me to protect me, that she was going to send me, and then they were also sending my boyfriend at the time to officer school because Humans, because I think because they wanted me for a full 20 years, and not everybody always does a full 20 years, and they wanted to protect me by my rank. I was a 5 foot tall, very small female. And so they wanted to make sure people had to respect me. So she
Okay.
gave me a day to think over what kind of job or that I would, or what kind of schooling I would want to do to pick the job that I wanted. I
So you
chose on
could
my
pick.
own
That's
to
lit.
go to school for psychology and to learn about humans. I was very excited about learning about humans. Um, I've always been fascinated by them, intrigued by people in general. And I knew that I was going to learn more information that I couldn't learn on Earth. And so she said that that was okay because she said that I could become kind of an ambassador towards creating good morale between races. So that was the goal for me.
Up to this
Interesting.
time, have you seen ETs yet?
Not while I was in the military. I had when I was younger, when I was about 15, was the first
Hmm.
time I was introduced to them. And I had an abduction when I was right before I left for
So
the
she was built for
military.
this.
So I had seen them then.
You got to think if time travel is possible, right? Because they'd be time traveling, right? Who's to say that the ETs that abducted her didn't already know that she was gonna be seeing them in the future anyway? Like, what if they just? What if it was like, oh, yeah, that girl from the future, we gotta find her when she 15 and abduct her. You feel me? You don't know.
But I didn't get those memories back till later on in life.
I didn't realize that you had contact prior to even joining the military.
Yes.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons why they chose you, because they knew about that.
Well, I think it was a bigger scheme because I was in the projects. So I was the projects that I was in with the government when I was very little. Um, I was being prepped for the Secret Space Force since I
Oh,
was a kid.
what's up with
You
that?
underwent some sort of psychological education to be like a psychologist or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then what did you do?
I didn't really use any of it. I did do about 5
So we're not gonna talk about her childhood and being trained to be a super soldier at the age of 5. What the heck?
years at that school. It was on Alpha Centauri. It was called Outpost 347. That was the school that most people in the galaxy were sent to for officer training. There were other beings there. There were
Yeah.
like Lyran beings. There were,
Wait. So she did psychology school. It was in Alpha Centauri. What the heck? Now this is mad interesting, bro. Hold up.
they weren't very nice to us humans. Humans are kind
And the Lyrans was mean to the humans. I find that kind of hard to believe. Then again, though, you never know.
of seen as like little children when it comes to being in bigger groups
Okay, well
of
that makes sense.
ETs. They kind of turn their nose up at us a little bit.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
there's always some that are very nice, of course, but it's just kind of a social ranking system. We're kind of at the lower end of.
What did
Yeah.
the Lyrans look like?
So the Lyrans that I met they looked like they had lion and lioness, so they had feline features on the face, and the rest were humanoids. They did have fur. Um, a lot of the beings that I met there, I don't have a lot of recollection of. I remember more beings on like Mars and things like that.
Where is
Okay.
Alpha Centauri?
It is our closest neighboring solar system. I want to say 4 light years away. It's around about 4 light years away.
And so are you on a planet similar to Earth in that system?
It was a rocky planet, yes. There was orange like dust. There wasn't a lot of trees, and the trees that were there was just very few. It was more of like a deserty place. The building was made of like full copper. They were using the conduction, I believe, for some sort of powering mechanisms within the school. And there were like blue trees and a few bushes, and there wasn't many animals or anything like that there.
Did you spend most of your time indoors?
Yes.
Indoors, indoors, indoors. SpongeBob, y'all know that? My bad.
Yes. There were two sons, and I think there's even a third one, if I'm not 100% on that, but there were two sons that were seen by us all the time, and then one really bright star that was a sun at night. So the
Right.
details to that will come back to me, but
I'm guessing that you and the Lyrans and what other ETs could all breathe the same air, like oxygen.
yeah, so I think that's what they were doing with powering through using the copper as a conductor of some kind that was so most races that have evolved past where a human can get to at this point are able to and have learned how to change their DNA to adapt
Oh,
to other
wow.
worlds.
That's
There,
lit.
it is very common to have many beings be able to live on one
That's
planet
lit.
for sure. They just adapt themselves.
How are you able to speak to each other language wise?
So I had an implant in the back of my, which is still there, in the
Mm.
back of my ear that turned all alien speech into English.
Oh,
And
wow.
everyone else had that same ability. So, like, we had these writing pads or these, it'd be like an iPad,
I lost my Lotus and Lavender joint. I can't find it. What the heck?
but they were clear. And those iPads would have our own language. And like I would see in class other people's language, and there's no way I could read what they were getting sent. But so I couldn't
Found
read
it.
it physically, but I could hear it.
That's wild, though,
Would
what
you
she's
consider
saying.
that school to be some sort of officer training school? Or was
Yeah. Yes.
what was it like?
It was difficult because I didn't
Oh, so this isn't the psychology school. It's an officer training school.
have a lot of friends. It was interesting because fell for, I fell into a relationship after my ex and I didn't work out with one of my non-human teachers who was
Whoa.
from Raya, who was
Who was
a
from what?
female who had
From what?
pointy ears, but
No, I
otherwise
didn't mean to do that. I hate when that shit happen, bro. Don't exit me out my fucking video, nigga. Fuck you mean, boy. From where?
I fell into a relationship after my ex and I didn't work out with one of my non-human teachers who was from Raya,
From Raya? I'm gonna look up where that's at. Hold up.
who was a female who had
Oh, and I just peeped. She said it was a female too. So the aliens be bisexual too.
pointy ears, but otherwise was fully humanoid. And me and her started a relationship right before I was leaving. And so me and her ended up, she had a past history where she was going to be put into a arranged marriage, and we wanted to be together. So we heard there was some volunteers needed for a secret
There's a moon that's called Rhea in Saturn. Maybe it's that.
Stargate team that
Now
needed
this,
for
hold
help.
up. This story so far is wild as heck. We're only 15 minutes into it, bro. Best believe I'm gonna make a part two. If y'all niggas want a part two, I'm not gonna end it right here, but we're gonna make a part two because I'm not watching this whole thing today. But if y'all want that part two, make sure you comment that shit down below because this shit's already interesting as hell, bro.
We heard there was some volunteers needed for a secret Stargate team
Secret
that
Stargate
was out
team.
in the middle of nowhere. There was very few people there, and me and her both got that enlistment we were enlisted there for about a year.
And what type of being was she again?
So she's from Raya, and so Ryanian, I'm not sure, right? Some kind of right. I don't.
I hope this interviewer asks her where that is. Like, let's please do the smart. Oh, it's spelled Rya. So it's not the moon I was talking about.
That's as much as I know is that she's from Raya. So
Where's Raya?
Thank
I do
you.
not know at
You
this
don't know.
point. I have no idea. Somewhere else.
All right, so you were at this Stargate thing. Is that anything
Yeah.
like the TV show?
That is a lot like the TV show in some ways, and then not in others. So there was only 10 people allowed on base. It was a very small, tiny disc, and it was very highly classified where people could not just
Wow, there's a celestial body in Star Wars that's called Raya. Interesting.
come and go. The commander of that ship worked with us, and there was very small teams. So like in the show, if I can remember, I haven't seen the show in like, gosh, 10 years probably. There were big teams, lots of people. It was a big ordeal. For us, it was very concentrated, very small. We had 3-man teams. We each had a hovering buggy machine, different types. One was cargo, one was arsenal in case we needed it. And what was the other one? Oh, I can't even think of it at this moment, but things that we needed. Cargo, arsenal. Oh, and then the other one was fit to go underwater if we needed it. So it was just a
You
specialized.
got underwater ships and all that.
They call buggies the personalized vehicles, but these were bigger than that.
So was it like the show? Were you traveling through a portal to other realms or other worlds and back and forth?
Yes. So the reason that we were brought there was to explore other worlds. So this
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Probably want to join the freaking secret space program, but I ain't trying to get involved with the government, bro. Granted, like I could just leave my body and do it. When I leave my body, it does feel real as heck. But it's like still, bro. This John crazy, dog.
Stargate itself is a manufactured portal that connects to the natural portals all over the galaxy, and wherever it wants to be pointed towards, and how, depending on how strong it is how far it can reach. We were told, or at least I guess we assumed, and I think we were told that we were looking for something in case we destroyed Earth. So there was this draconian reptilian being. I don't know why I said draconian. I'm going to say reptilian. Maybe he was draconian. That's possible. He came to visit once and was like very pushy about like, did you find anything? Where did you go? And like,
Hella
how is,
wild.
like, he really wanted the information from us, which was really scary. And we told him all that we could, but so we went on 12 jumps, one a month. And usually what would happen is we would end up in either a desert somewhere where you couldn't drink the water. We would end up in too cold atmospheres where you couldn't even get out of the vehicle. There was just
Dang.
so many different
Dang, imagine that. Imagine you just walk out the vehicle and just freeze up. Oh, nah.
scenarios of these just ridiculous planets that, I don't say ridiculous lightly, planets that we couldn't survive on. That's what I mean by that. And so it gave me huge respect for Earth.
Why do you think this is all kept a secret?
In my personal opinion, is that they think people are going to freeze.
Bro, this y'all burning mad weird, bro. I hate when they do that. The lotus and the lavender not spread evenly. So the lotus is burning mad fast at the top, but the freaking my fault. Yeah, the lotus is burning mad fast at the top, but the lavender at the bottom, that John cooking me.
Out for two reasons, three reasons maybe, but two for sure. One, because they didn't tell anybody when it first started, they know people are gonna be upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
And two, they know that people are gonna be upset when they find out that they have like medical, higher tech medical equipment than they're saying that we have and allowing people to have. They think there'll be an uprising, I'm sure. And I'm
I'm at to re-roll this John, bro. That John blowing me, bro. Look at this John, bro. I'm cooked.
not going to say that that wouldn't happen. I don't know. I don't know what will happen. I know that we're real close to it. I can feel it, that the government has started to admit to different knowings and not knowings and not understandings, but like finally admitting that they have seen or experienced some type of UFOs, I mean, that's huge for us, for them to even begin that conversation.
So do you think disclosure is going to happen while Trump is the president?
Mm, that's a good question. That might be a little early. I'm not 100% sure. I know that I've seen, so when I was 15, I got to experience the Looking Glass, which is a machine that allows.
That's a time travel device. Yo, I first discovered that when I left my body, and I'm like, nah, this is crazy. They really got that, John. Then I seen somebody else, a different secret space soldier. He spoke about it. I'm like, yo, I see what that John looked like before out of my body.
You to see into the future. And I was in with some handlers there, and they saw that I was a part of a disclosure march that happened in 2027. So that
2020, yo, people keep on talking about 2027, bro. People keep talking about 2027, my guy.
and they weren't happy about that. They were not happy about that. So I assume it's going to come to a space where we force them to tell us the truth, right? I don't think they're going to. I don't personally think they're going to come forward and say, "Hey, guess what? We've been hiding all of this from you for a long time." I
Yeah.
think that at some point they'll concede and they'll say, "Okay, fine," But I think we're going to have to do something for that to happen.
How long did you do the Stargate service, and then what did you do afterward?
Yeah, so I did 12 months, so 1 year, 12 jumps. And then from there, me and the girl who I was with still wanted to stay together. So we were kind of running from her parents because her parents came to see us right before we were done with that duty station. And they were not happy that she was with me because she was supposed to get married to someone else. And so me and her found another classified mission to go to Venus. So Venus was the next trip, which was amazing how we got there.
Ain't Venus like mad hot?
So on Venus is a tiny inconspicuous shack, like in the middle of nowhere on the planet. And we had to jump from a ship that couldn't land on the surface. So there was 5 of us that put on these shields, these like bubble shields that hooked to our chest and like gave us atmosphere so that once we jumped and then got into the building and followed all these like cool, beautiful Venetian words and gold linings of just like beautiful tribal stuff all over
That actually does sound a lot like I've been to Venus before. That sounds a lot like Venus.
the walls. We found
Left my body, of course. I ain't go there physically.
a interdimensional doorway that had punched a hole in space and time, and it was a space that would take you from one dimension to another. So it was just this square like cutout of one space and time to the other, to where it didn't have any edges. There was no like it was glowing. The whole thing itself was glowing, but that's just because of the room we were in. But it was literally like someone had taken a stencil and just cut out in between dimensions. And as we walked through, we walked to this, you could feel buzzing and tingling all over the whole body of like whatever was happening was changing our like molecular structure, or like however dimensionally we were based, and turned us into a higher vibration, which was, it just felt lovely, is what it felt like. And on the other side of the wall was like a huge giant city and military base that had regular people just walking around. But I mean, it was something out of the Star Wars like Capital movie scene, there was just beautiful, amazing architecture, sculptures. Venus was the most amazing place I had ever seen or heard of in my life.
I'm saying though, ain't Venus like mad hot? So like, how did they? I want to know about that because Venus is hot. So like, how'd y'all not burn up? You feel me?
As far as I understand, Venus is a place where it's inhospitable for humans to
Hey, this man thinking what I'm thinking.
live. Were you like
Well,
wearing a suit or how did that work out?
no, it's a different dimension that we were taken through from the doorway.
Ah, that makes sense. I've heard this before too. They'll like with the other guy I was watching, he mentioned how they would send them to like higher planes when they would do this, like take their body to a higher plane. So like it was chilling. I've heard that.
So our entire body was taken to a higher density. So
Yeah,
it's not definitely not on the dimension that you would see it as from here, but it is a higher density. Like we're in the third density, and it's definitely above that. I'm not sure. They
no,
didn't
we're
give
not.
a
We're the first one, but yeah.
name to exactly which one it was.
Being in that other dimension, did you feel like a different
You could tell that she don't fully know what she talking about because she keeps on saying dimension, then density, and da 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 da. You feel me? But I get what she's saying. They was in a higher density. They probably went from density 1 to density 3, to be honest.
person? Like you had psychic abilities or did you feel happier in general?
Definitely happier. Also, like it's strange to try to describe, but like bouncier and less rigid. Like the bone structures weren't hard. Like the outer structure of the body was more malleable. There was actually a really amazing scene that happened that can kind of explain this. Sierra was the name of the girl that I was living with there, and she came home one day and she had a buckle that she put on, and that buckle brought up a menu, and she scrolled through it, and she could pick whatever it was that she wanted to change on herself physically. So she
Wow.
put like white eyes, purple
Wait.
eyebrows, you know, and she could
Now that's a weird combo. White eyes, purple eyebrows. What?
change the actual structure of the way because it was more flowing, it
Now
was
that
more
does,
malleable.
this definitely had to have been the third density, the astral plane, because in the astral plane you can make your body look however the fuck you want it to look.
Like it wasn't as like here we have the quantum physics which like pushes and forces things apart. The physics were different there.
Would you say that's fifth dimensional or higher?
I would say it's higher than that. I wouldn't know. Fifth dimensional, I believe that us 3D humans can get to. Fifth dimensional, I believe, is psychic abilities and getting
No. I mean, you know what? Let me just shut up. Let me throw my understandings out the window and just let her talk. Even though niggas are saying literally fifth dimensional, which is not the right term at all, because fifth dimensional just means having 5 dimensions: length, width, height, time, and space. You know, six dimensional would be length, width, height, time, space, and light. You're just adding more dimensions. You're adding more measurable extents. Literally, just if you Google what the fuck these words mean, you can literally see that they're not speaking inside the right terms. But it's okay. Most niggas don't understand the structure of reality, so I'll let it slide.
to a higher nature. But I do think there is a part of that where our physical bodies do change a little bit. I don't think they change that much. I'm not 100% on that though.
So how long were you posted to Venus?
Around 5 years, something like, I think it was five, yeah.
And what was your job there?
So I was working with some Arcturians who
Hey,
had
my
full
people,
blue skin
my
from head to
people.
toe. They had pointy chins and they were bald. And then they had gold tribal tattoos on their whole body, which
Oh, that's sexy. I've seen those ones before.
were just beautiful. They were they felt very feminine, very loving and caring. They had really high gifts. I didn't remember having any more like spiritual gifts while I was there. I do remember feeling happier, and so I was like their security guard kind of. I didn't really use much of the officer school except just like the trainings and learning how to be in space and those kind of things. But I would help them. They were focused on creating botanical healing serums for the sick. So that was their job, and I
Huh.
was just aiding them in whatever I could do for them.
By the end
Interesting.
of your tour on Venus, you had been in about 7 years or so, right? It's kind of,
Yeah, some,
and then
well,
where,
no, it would have been 11 because five on our in Centauri, in Alpha Centauri, and then one on the Stargate and five on Venus, so 11.
all
Okay.
right, where did you go after that?
We went to Mars. Mars was intense. It was an underground station,
Yeah, I've heard that.
and I kind of looked at it as like a prison because there wasn't any place for the beings to go. There wasn't a lot of money there. There